Hello, this is College Star doing some math today in geometry. We're going to prove angle pair relationships. And we're going to start off with some things that are a bit obvious, but we just have to write it out. This first one is the right angles congruence theorem. So basically what it says, if we have two right angles, so if two angles are right angles, let's call this 1, call this 2, and then angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Obvious. Congruent supplements theorem. So let's say we have that angle, and that angle, and that angle. So let's say that this is 30 degrees, and this is 150 degrees, and this is 30 degrees. So if two angles are supplementary to the same angle, so let's call this angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. So if angle 1 is supplementary to angle 2, that means they add up to 180. And angle 3 is supplementary to angle 2, that means angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So if they're both supplementary to the same thing, then they're congruent. And same thing with congruent complements. If they add up to 90 degrees, so let's do something here. Let's say this is 50, this is 40, so they add up to 90. And then we have, let's see, have a separate angle over here, and call that 40 degrees. Let's call that angle 1, angle 2, angle 3. So if they're both complementary to the same angle, so angle 1 is complementary to angle 2, angle 3 is complementary to angle 2, therefore angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. And then this is just by definition of a linear pair, but this is the linear pair postulate. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. So angle 1 is supplemental to angle 2. It means they add up to 180 degrees. And then vertical angles, once again, so 1, 3, 2, 4. Opposite of the intersections are congruent to each other. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Alright, let's go back to some more proofs. Okay, so remember, statement, reason, SR. Always start out with what you're given. So JK, the segment JK is perpendicular to KL, and ML is perpendicular to KL. So that's given. And let me put a comma here. So our goal is to prove that angle K is congruent to angle L. Well, usually it comes from what we're given. So what does it mean to be perpendicular? Angle K. So if I look at JK as perpendicular to KL, that means angle K is a right angle. Why? Because that's the definition of perpendicular lines. If two segments are perpendicular, then they form right angles. And then 3, Angle L is a right angle. Why? Because of the same reason. So you can say same as 2. Because we're just going to write the exact same thing. And then lastly, angle K is congruent to angle L. Why? Because of that thing up there that we just learned about. And what's it called? Right angles congruence theorem. Or you can say if 2 angles are right, then they are congruent. So once again, you're not supposed to be masters of proof yet. This was confusing. Try to work through it. You always start off with what you're given, and you kind of use that information to say, well, I have this information, what does that mean? And just work it out, and it usually logically flows to the end there. Let's do another example. So angle 2 and angle 3 are supplements. So, okay. Statement, reason. So angle 2 and angle 3 are supplements. Means they add up to 180. Angle 1 and angle 4. They're supplements. And measure of angle 2 equals 45 degrees. So this is all 1 given. Okay, 2. Okay. So not even looking at what we're trying to prove. Just going to use the facts here. So angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. What does that mean? The measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. And same thing here. Measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 4 equals 180 degrees. Oops. Plus. Measure of angle 4. Okay. 2 and 3. Okay. If if 2 angles add up, or sorry, are 2 angles are supplemental, then they add up to 180 degrees. Okay. And then same thing, same as 2 for y angle 1 plus angle 4 is equal to 180. Okay. So we're trying to say that a measure of angle 4 is 45 degrees. Let's see. Okay. So what can we do? Alright, so after looking at this, I realized that they're missing something in order to prove this correct. And that is they needed to show that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So I'm going to add that in there. So I'm going to say angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and then toss that in there. So I'm going to redo some of this. Okay. So you could use that, and it might not. So sometimes you'll have a fact that you'll use, but it doesn't lead you anywhere. So you just need to go backwards and use a different fact. So now I'm adding that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So that means angle, so since angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, angle 2 and angle 4 are, oh, skipping ahead. Okay, so I can say, yeah, I can say angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Oh, wait, sorry, I have to back up one more step, sorry. So I need to show that angle 1 is also supplementary. So angle 1 and angle 2, there we go. Angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. And that's through substitution. So because I know angle 1 is is congruent to angle 3, in that first statement there, angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. I just swapped angle 3 with angle 1. So now I can say that they're supplementary through substitution. Now I can say angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because of our congruent supplements theorem. So because of the congruent supplements theorem, so this is what you would say here. So because two angles are supplementary to the same angle, therefore they're congruent. And now since the angles are congruent, the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 4. And that is definition, or well, it's if two angles are congruent, then they have the same measure. And then lastly, substitute measure of angle 2 is 45 degrees equals measure of angle 4. And that is because, so what I said there, measure of angle 4 is 45 degrees, and that's through substitution. I replace the 45 degrees with measure of angle 2. Okay, that one was a rough one. Like I said, you're not going to become masters of these. Some of these will be a lot easier than others. The ones I give you on the test will be easier, and we'll work, and we're going to continue to work on these until they become a lot better than day one. But once again, we're not going to master these right away, and on your tests, they're not going to be a huge portion of your test. All right, example 3. Given angle 4 is a right angle, prove angle 2 and angle 4 are supplementary. Okay. Here we go. Statement is in. Let's give myself more space. More space. SR. All right. So 1. Angle 4 is a right angle. Given. Okay. So I'm just going to use the fact that it's a right angle. That means the measure of angle 4 equals 90 degrees. And you can say here the measure of a right angle is 90 degrees. 3. Okay, so I need to find angle 2. And we know it is a vertical angle. So I can say angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they are vertical angles. And that's all you have to say for that. That means measure of angle 2 is 90 degrees. And that's because if two angles are congruent, then they have the same measure. Five. Okay. Measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 4 is 180. And that's just addition. And then lastly, what did I do there? Angle 2 and angle 4 are supplementary because of the definition. If two angles add to 180, then they are supplemental. All right, let's do one more. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. So sometimes the diagram will give us stuff, and they, for some reason they don't state it. And oh wait, never mind. No, there's no need. I'm sorry. So I write down our given. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Or no, angle 1 angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. That's given to us. 2. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. If two angles are vertical, then they are congruent. That was an easy one. All right, that's it for today. Once again, you're not a master of proof yet. If you are, that's great. But for the rest of you, try to work on this in your homework. I provided the answers for you, but make sure you write out these not the postulates, but write out these theorems, like if two angles are vertical, then they are congruent, or if an angle is a right angle, then its measure is 90, stuff like that. Make sure you don't just shorthand everything, otherwise I'll just figure you're just copying. All right, have a good day.